Welcome back to another race review. This one is going to be a little less in depth because the race went really well for me and there wasn't a lot of drama to talk about. So I'm going to have a little bit of a different approach this time. I'm going to try and just analyze where I think I had the speed, try and give some advice on where I found the speed. I really do want to have close racing, so if I can try and help some of the guys in the field get some more pace, that's going to be the aim of this video because, yeah, not a lot of drama, not a lot of sort of even battles to go into, which, yeah, not complaining about. It's good to have a sort of nicer, easier race. But yeah, what I'm going to do is play through the fastest qualifying lap I had. Then I'm going to go back to the start of it and we're going to go through it and sort of, I'll talk through some of the moments where maybe I could have gone a bit quicker, but try and talk through as well where I think the pace was and why I thought the car was working well and how maybe the setup helped. We'll go into a bit of detail on that. But yeah, let's get into it. That was the lap. We won't go into too much detail, but I'll try and pick some points where I think there was good pace in this lap and possibly where it could have been even quicker. The first thing that we're going to note is the braking point that I pick. So right here, which different to the race. In the race, I'm sort of braking 150-ish. I've pushed quite a bit further to about 125, heavy on the brakes. Now, let off. Just clip that inside curb, so there's probably a tenth there. Yeah, a little bit of a correction, couldn't get on the throttle early enough. So even in that first little bit, a little bit more pace to be had. As we come into this section of corners, this is one where I felt I was getting quite a bit of an advantage through. The aim here was to brake, get the car turned in, ride over the curb off the brake, and then try and keep it straight and brake and get it hooked into the right-hander with a good position to get back on the throttle. So you'll see I'll brake, turn in off the brake, back on the brake a bit, turn in as early as I can so that I can pick up the throttle again. Managed to get a little bit of time on my previous lap. This tight left-hander, the rear end just slightly walks around, which is nearly perfect. So I'm able to pick up the throttle nice and early. I've sort of gotten it turned in and then can just use the throttle to drive out of the corner, which is nearly perfect. Very happy with that one. Now, this corner bugged me quite a bit for the entire time. Never really got comfortable with this corner, but I've managed to nail it pretty well in this one. And the key is to not push too hard on the way in because then you can't sort of keep it going through the corner. So I've braked really hard, got it down in a third. I'm turning in. Look, I'm nowhere near the corner and I'm already starting to turn in. The aim is to just slightly get over that inside curb. Not so much that it upsets the car, but enough to kind of cut the corner so that we can get back on the throttle without running too wide, because it's very easy to push wide here, end up over the curb, the car gets unsettled, you lose quite a bit of time. So over the curb, don't run too wide, keep the pace on. It was fine. Not my best, but pretty good. Now, keeping in the theme with basically braking, getting over the curb and then braking again. I use the same technique here. Different to what we see at the start of the video where I spin out though, I actually don't brake as heavy in this next section and just basically use the turning to scrub off the speed. So as we hop over the curb, I will brake, but I'll get back off the brake and then turn in, which means it wasn't as snappy, and it even pushes a little wide. So we sort of missed that apex a bit, run a little wide, but just get back on the throttle, and we're up a little bit on time still, so still going really well this lap. I, at this point, try and play a little more conservative, so I brake extra heavy here, which actually catches me out a little on the way in, so, and too much throttle on the exit of that, so I've actually lost a tenth or so through that little bit compared to my best lap. But I was trying to be a bit more conservative, knowing I had the time up the sleeve. Same on this one. I'm pretty early on the brakes. I turn in fairly early, sort of pick it up with the throttle, a bit of oversteer, so hit the curb here again too early. I realistically, there's another 2 to 3 tenths in that last sector, but I was pretty happy just to get a little bit more on the board. Mind you, I didn't need it, of course. At this point, I've already got the quickest lap. Eski's in the pits, but Cuckoo's still pushing, so in my mind, he might pull a lap out, so I'm happy to get a little bit more in reserve, and so, yeah, that was the Qually lap. Not a lot of mistakes. Very happy with it.
Bloody hell, 43s.
Nice lap, Eski.
Yeah. Oh, Eski.
Yeah, you too, mate.
Outstanding improvement from practice.
Yeah, well done, Petey, Eski, and Cuckoo, and No Frills, Gunner, and Shippo. Good work.
So as we trundle around on the formation lap, let me talk to the setup, because I called that out earlier, and it's pretty simple, to be honest. The only thing I changed was tyre pressures, brake balance back 1 click, but I actually did push that back forward 1 click in the race. We're going to come to that. If you look at my tyre pressures currently, you'll notice that the front is higher than the rear. And I found that this made the world of difference to the balance of the car. I dropped the pressures a lot to get some pace, and particularly in Qually, not only to get the temperatures up quicker, but I just found that it had a lot more grip. But what I found was when I ran equal pressures, the rear would actually, once they're all up to temp, the rear would start walking around a lot more. It would even spin out and become uncatchable. But when I raised the front pressures a little bit, all of a sudden the balance was fine. And you could still spin it, but it was way less likely, and I found that meant I could push harder and therefore go quicker. And the default setup actually has the front pressures lower than the rear, which is really going to make it a much harder car to drive. Now, there's possibly a lot of guys watching this going, are you kidding me? Because honestly, go and try it and you'll feel it very different. However, Cuckoo said that there's potentially a tyre change coming in a new update soon, so this advice may be completely wrong by then, but that is what I had on this setup, and that is what worked really well for me, and it made the world of difference. Dropping the pressures a bit, I brought them back up for the race a little bit compared to what I had in Qually, because I was worried they might overheat. But most importantly was having the front tyre pressures about 0.05 bar higher than the rear, I think it was. And honestly, the world of difference. Basically, the car became a lot more stable and I became a lot more confident in pushing it. The rear just wouldn't start walking around as much. And that was the key, really, in the setup. I didn't touch anything else. The brake balance back 1 click. And so coming back to that, once they got up to temperature in the race, I noticed a little bit squirrely under braking at times, and I think it was because of that temperature difference and the pressure difference, so I ended up actually pushing it back forward 1 click in the race at some point. Anyway, race is off. We're going. Reasonable start. Cuckoo's got an awesome slipstream behind me, but he backs out of it pretty quickly because it could have been a sketchy turn one otherwise. Eski on the outside gives plenty of room. I keep it nice and tight anyway, but as soon as I'm clear here, Eski with a bit of wiggle on the throttle over that curb. As soon as I'm clear here, it's just head down. I know I've got the pace in the car, and I'm pretty confident I'm going to be able to push a gap. So there's not going to be a lot to actually review in the race. There's going to be a few little moments I'll bring up, but I guess covering the race from my point of view was basically time trial laps for the whole race. We do come across some traffic at some point. We do get a safety car, so basically I'll skip ahead to the next safety car restart because that's kind of the next bit that's interesting from my point of view.
Prepare for a restart. Petey, you'll be in complete control.
So here we are, absolutely crawling. I had the idea of using the pit limiter. Whether or not this actually helps at all, I don't know. But basically I felt like, yeah, I'll use a pit limiter, it'll keep my speed fairly steady, and that way I know I can't push too far. When I'm ready to go, just nail it and turn the pit limiter off. So that's what I do here. And it's sort of natural. There's no way Esky can pick when I'm going to go, and it just instantly gaps him that little bit. And I had really high confidence under brakes into turn 1 throughout this entire race, so I was very confident. He's too far back, he's not going to lunge up the inside. I can just basically get my head back down and keep racing here. So he hangs on for a little bit, but as the gap just sort of slowly grows, and then he gets pressure from Cuckoo, so I essentially just walk away. And we're not going to sit here and watch, 20 odd laps of me just driving around basically, so I'm going to skip ahead to something a bit more interesting. So this is going to be the first time lapping the JS2s, and it's a bit of a sketchy moment really, because I'm coming up behind Revenator and Max Power here. Max Power runs a bit deep. Revenator also actually runs a little deep, gets a little squirrely off the line, so I back out of it. Max is now miles off the track. And this brings us to an interesting thing that happened in the race. So at this point in time, it turns out that the good Reverend, he actually can't see me. My car is not rendering for him at all, and he has no idea that I'm here. And obviously, I don't know this. So I've driven up the inside. I think I'm going to be easily alongside. We'll go too wide through here, and I'll sort of get through on the next turn. But what actually happens is he doesn't know I'm there, so he goes to turn in the corner as if I'm not there, and we have a little collision. So really unfortunate, and it was at this, I hadn't called out on the radio, so that's on me. And moving forward, lots of call outs, because not only may I be approaching fast and they don't know I'm there, turns out a few people, in fact, just couldn't see my car rendered, as in I was not visible until I was in front of them. So just a little collision there. Fortunately, he managed to gather it up, I gather it up. We keep going and everything's okay, but it was definitely a little scary. I call out on the radio, sorry about that. I just really had no idea he was not going to realise I was there. I didn't think it was a risky manoeuvre. And I think if he had been able to see me, then obviously would have been able to drive through there, no problem. I could have possibly waited longer, but like I say, I just didn't know that he couldn't see me at that point. So, there's a few more interesting moments like that.
Inside here,
This is just a great example of the raw power of this P4, which really evident on this long straight. Keeping here for a little bit of a slipstream, you don't need it, of course. And then, past one car, another car miles up the road. We're going to get him? Absolutely, we're going to get him long before the braking zone. Easy does it. We're in front. Hit the brakes. Their braking power on the JS2, it may be better, but I honestly think it's pretty matched, because the speed that I'm braking from versus the speed they're braking from, we can brake about the same distance. So, I think that the P4 brakes pretty damn well, particularly when you've got it dialed in on the balance. Anyway, more sort of fighting through the field. We'll skip forward to something more interesting. So this is an example of how I thought that earlier situation was going to play out with the Revenator. Come up alongside Gunner here. I've called it out. I think he's actually backed out of it a little bit to make sure I've got room there. But, we can go too wide through there and everything's fine. That's really what I expected that first time around. But when the Revenator, I didn't call it out. He couldn't see me. He had no idea. And, not a lot you can do there. In this instance, I've sort of backed out of it to make sure I'm not pressuring Max through the chicane, and he moves out of the way and I can keep going, no drama at all. Big shout out to everybody, to be honest. I think everybody was calling out passes and giving space where it was needed. That earlier collision aside, there was no dramas with traffic, and it was really awesome. I really appreciate that, and I think everybody did really well. Speaking of which, No Frills here. I don't know if he just made a mistake there or if he was just getting out of the way. Either way, I hope he wasn't just getting out of the way, because he really took himself out there. And also I hope I wasn't sort of giving too much pressure. I was trying to wait for this next straight. So apologies, No Frills, if I sort of caused a bit of stress there. So unfortunately, even after our earlier issue, I make another problem with the good Reverend here. I called out on the radio that I was coming up and I was going to go up the left side. He probably still couldn't see me, and so he's kind of stayed really right. But then I said, it's fine, I will wait to the straight. And then he's kind of hung out there, and I've sort of nearly slowed down. We both nearly stopped. My fault, just a bad call, and I think possibly combined with the fact that he still didn't know where I was. So I'm trying to call out, and he's just going, a bit messy from me. I should have just waited the straight, but fortunately it wasn't too bad, and I hope I didn't cost him too much time there. So we're coming up on the one mistake I made, which was nearly very costly, right near the end of the race. So up the road, I've got Cobb, my teammate, in front of me in the JS2. I see Smithy in P9, who I haven't lapped. And I start to look at the time, and I'm like, okay, so it's +1, so is that going to be one more lap? Is that 2 more laps? And I get a little bit distracted down into this braking zone. and I brake a little bit on the inside, a little bit on the curb, and watch what happens. It might not look like much, but oh boy, did that was that a code brown? Because I, in practice, did have it absolutely spit me into the wall there from a similar maneuver, and it really snapped quickly, and I got off the brake again, tried to straighten it up. It had another little wiggle, and then I had to still pull it up for the corner. So scary little moment, and there was absolutely no need for it. All I need to do is drive to the end. I got 16 seconds to Cuckoo currently. I don't need to pass Smithy, but to be honest, at this point in the race, I've been running around for like 50 minutes with no one around, and I'm just happy to have a target to aim for, somebody to chase down. So I absolutely do lock in, and it absolutely gives me motivation to push and make sure I can get Smithy before the end of the race. So one lap later, it is a blue flag. This is not a racing pass. I get to this corner and Smithy sort of just hangs around the outside and lets me through. So not an exciting pass, but I got my mark, and here we are racing to the finish. Look, there's not a lot to go into in this race. Like I said, pretty boring race from my end. One near miss, a little collision with the Good Reverend, which was my fault, and a bit of a game bug as well. But mostly, it was just solid lapping, making sure I hit my marks, not over pushing, managing tyre temperatures, but that was pretty steady. They got a little hot at one point, but I don't know where they actually roll off. I was too scared to find out. In the mid to high 70s, it still seemed to be fine. I don't know when they start to get too hot. There's probably heaps left in them, really, which means you could probably run those pressures lower again than I did in the race, which may give it even more grip. So it might have even gone quicker, but obviously it was plenty as it was. Steady as she goes, rounding the final corners, not pushing too hard. This is the end of the race, so look, in wrap up, a pretty boring race from my end. Won by 20 seconds. I'm not upset about it at all. I'm happy to have a great performance. I do enjoy racing though, and particularly when you're racing guys for the whole race or for good sections of it, whereas most of this race I was just lapping. So I don't expect to have this performance every race, and hopefully, look, if it's as simple as tyre pressures, hopefully I can help some guys get some more pace out of it, and definitely some more confidence to push, because that's what the key factor for me was. With this tyre pressure balance front to rear, I really had the confidence to push. Obviously, there's that one little snap I had, but that was under braking. I was able to catch it. It was fine. When I had those pressures reversed or even equal, I would find that the rear would walk around, and it would very quickly walk around to a point that you couldn't even catch it, and you'd cause a spin, or you'd just be too scared to get on the throttle because it would start, disappearing on you. So, hopefully that can help. But look, I had a great race, and I loved racing this car on this track. This was a lot of fun, even without door-to-door battles. So hopefully we get some closer racing next time. We can have some more stuff to review. But anyway, that'll be it. So until next time, have a good one.